Welcome. And now we'll be discussing today the structure and function of human ear. You know, human ear is one of the most important sensory organ, and it has very important function that is vital for survival as well as processing of information and perception. So during this process, how that human ear, that is a specialized organ, works and how it has been structured. So the main aim behind this video is now let us discuss the structural aspect of human ear and the functional aspect. So without any delay, now let us move to the next slide where we'll be discussing first we'll be discussing the sensory process that is related with the structure the functioning of human ear. That sensory process is a part of that function and structure of human ear. Why? Because the first the step is sensation. So we must know what is sensation, then we must know what is sensory process. If we are well aware about these two aspects, then we can proceed the structure and function of human ear. Now, this is the organ I am talking about. We use our human ear for various purposes, for our cosmetic purpose also, for beautification also, and for listening, orientation towards an object, and making our balance. So these are the various in brief I told you the applications, uses or function of that human ear. How this works, let us move to the next. The first aspect, as I told you, is that is your definitions, two definitions, that is sensation. What is sensation? Sensation is the sensing the external or internal stimuli. You know what is external stimuli? The stimuli, that events or some phenomena that is occurring outside your body, that is occurring in the natural environment or some artificial environment, that is not main the thirst is it is not occurring inside body, it is occurring outside your body. That is external stimuli or internal stimuli that is occurring inside your body. Now there is maybe some doubts or confusion arise among the students how we can hear the sound which is emanating from inside our body. So we'll let you know when we're discussing the function of human ear. But sometimes you see when you chew the food, in that case you don't hear some, you hear some sound. So in that case what you do is you close your eyes and sit in a silent place and then chew your food. In that case you will hear some sound. That sound is not coming from outside, that sound is coming from inside your body. That is known as internal stimuli. Or there is one important concept in Indian literature, that is we call it as anahad naad ki dhwani. What is that is? So what you do is you lie down or sit down comfortably and ensure that there is no external disturbance, or that is you can say minimal external sound. Put your both index fingers on your inside your ears and plug your ears and silently focus your attention on inside the ear. What you hear is there's a sound, goo sound in your ears, that is coming from both the ears. In the here at this position you don't there plug the your ears, so there is no sound coming from outside. That sound is itself generating from the ear canal. And why that sound is generating it, there is due to the presence of air, the movement of air. So that particular sound is emanating from your inside of your ear. That is known as internal stimuli. And Indian literature we call it as a anahad नाद की ध्वनि, ऐसी आवाज जो किसी वस्तु से प्रोड्यूस ना हो, उसको हम बोलते हैं अनाहद नाद की ध्वनि. So that is internal stimuli. I think you go to the point now. What is internal stimuli and what is external stimuli? This is particularly I was talking about the ear. External stimuli can be other also. some sensation of your pain, sensation of your temperature, anything that. So sensory process is whole process which is related to your all five organs. Okay, now what is sensory process? That now as we're discussing was sensation. Sensory process is the process of detection of external or internal stimuli through the activation of sense organs. So you know we have five sense organs: your eyes, ear, nose, skin, and your tongue. These are the five major sense organs. So when these sense organs are activated through the some stimuli, some event or some phenomena, that process that is known as sensory process. I think you could get now what is sensation and what is sensory process. The next part is our we'll little bit of discuss the sensory process in detail. You know, human activities are the results of what? The orders coming from your brain. Getting my point? Now, then how this your brain? Why your brain orders your muscles or tissues to activate to act in a certain way? That activation is the resultant function of the input the brain receives from the sense organs. Getting my point? And sense organs are stimulated by the external or internal environment. So you can very well combine these aspects together. Means when you do something or when you engage in some behavior, physical behavior or psychological behavior, in that case, that is the function of, that is the result of the inputs coming from the sense organs, because these sense organs provide information to the brain organize that information, interpret that information, and pass orders to the various muscles or organs or activity for the particular activity. That activity must be compatible with the information received from the sense organs. While doing this activity, that is during sensory process means sensing the information and activations of the sense organs. Got my point? So during the resultant activities, when the brain orders your sense organs or your other organs to do some activity, it's not a single unit function. It's a combined function of your sense organs, neurons, tissues, muscles, bones, brain as a whole. And one important aspect is mind. All these components, physical or hypothetical component, hypothetical means mind, which helps in receiving, organizing, and finally interpreting the stimuli. And after that, engaging in some kind of behavior. This part comes under your whole sensory and perceptual process. But we can understand and discuss in this, that is under this sense. This is your sense organ. What we are going to talk about that. So what actually it do? So in all sense organs, we have specialized cells. These cells are known as receptors, such as auditory receptors in the ear, photoreceptors in your eyes, taste receptors in your tongue. So these specialized cells are known as receptors. The function of these receptors is very important. What is that? So whatever internal or external stimuli we receive from our environment, that stimuli is in the form of physical stimulus. So that physical stimulus, when it travels to these receptors, or when these receptors receive that physical stimulus, they convert those physical stimulus in a language that is understood by the brain. So what is that language? They transduce that physical stimulus into the electrochemical signals. We call these signals as neural impulses. So these neural impulses are transported to the brain through various nerves. As in the case of ear, it is auditory nerve. In case of your eye, it is optic nerve. And from there, your brain starts doing activities. So important point here I want to make it here is these receptors are instrumental in transforming or converting or modulating the physical stimuli into the language that is understood by the brain. That language is known as neural impulses. So the only function of receptors you could understand, right? So this whole process of converting stimuli into neural impulse is known as sensory process. So if you want to remember what is sensory process in one liner, that is converting the stimuli into neural impulse. So this is totally sensory or sensory process. So now let us move to the structure of our ear. E means structure of human ear. So for better understanding the human ear, it has been divided into three subdivisions. What are these three subdivisions? This is not three subdivisions. This is internal three bones which are found in the our inner ear, or it is in the middle ear. No, I will not let you know. Right now, you have to guess it, and we'll be discussing when its turn will come. So, this is your total ear function. This one. First, I told you it has been divided into three subdivisions. The first one is outer or external ear. What is outer or external ear is? The components of outer ear are pinna and auditory canal. So this is a pinna, the part you can touch or the part of the ear which you use for your cosmetic purpose. We use various rings, type of rings. That is known as your pinna. That is act as no. We'll discuss this thing in the function. Okay. So this is your canal, that is known as auditory canal. Means this is these two components, pinna and auditory canal, makes the outer or external ear. The second part is middle ear. This one is totally your middle ear. It contains tympanum. We call it the eardrum. Tympanic cavity. This is your tympanic cavity. Three ossicles. Yes, these are the three ossicles which are found in the, you are right, in the middle ear. Sometimes this objective questions being asked in examination, that the ossicles or three bones, the smallest bone is found in the outer ear, inner ear, innermost ear and middle ear. So there is no such thing as innermost ear. That is a significant distract the examiner uses. So your answer should be in the middle ear. These three ossicles, three small bones are found in the middle ear. The name as, malleus, it's the shape of hammer, so it can also call as hammer. Incus, it's the shape of anvil, and stapes, it's the shape of stirrup. So these are the five components. Three your ossicles, one is your tympanic cavity, and one is your tympanum or eardrum. This all five components together makes your middle ear. Welcome, and now we'll be discussing today the structure and function of human ear. You know, human ear is one of the most important sensory organ, and it has very important function that is vital for survival as well as processing of information and perception. So during this process, how that human ear, that is a specialized organ, works and how it has been structured. So the main aim behind this video is, now let us discuss the structural aspect of human ear and the functional aspect. So without any delay, now let us move to the next slide, where we'll be discussing, first we'll be discussing the sensory process that is related with the structure, that is functioning of human ear. That sensory process is a part of that function and structure of human ear. Why? Because the first, the step is sensation. So we must know what is sensation, then we must know what is sensory process. if we are well aware about these two aspects, then we can proceed the structure and function of human ear. Now, with and this is the organ I am talking about. We use our human ear for various purposes, for our cosmetic purpose also, for beautification also, and for listening, orientation towards an object, and making our balance. So these are the various in brief I told you the applications, uses or function of that human ear. How this works, let us move to the next slide. Can you tell me what we can be discussing? Okay, function of each part of your ear. Let us start one by one. First is outer or external ear. Now, the point which I left you, the question which I left you while we were discussing the external ear, what is the role of pinna? Can you tell? Yes, it can. We can use for cosmetic purpose, wearing some external rings or doing something. So, basic purpose of the pinna is it is a type of antenna that collects the incoming sound and reflects towards the canal, auditory canal, and that canal carries sound waves to the tympanum or eardrum. So this is the function of outer or external ear. So then comes the middle ear. What does middle ear is? It increases. So middle ear contains, do you know, tympanum, that is your eardrum, tympanic cavity, and three bones, malleus, incus, and stapes. So what is the function of the exactly middle ear is? It increases the intensity of sound vibration about 10 times and forward them or send them to the inner ear. That is the only function of middle ear. Not more than that. It increases the intensity of the sound by 10 times. Then what is the role of the inner ear? Is inner ear converts sound waves, which I told you, because inner ear has auditory receptors. It converts sound waves into neural impulse with the help of organ of Corti, that is the main organ of hearing, made up of fine hair cells, and then forward their neural impulses to the auditory nerve. Their main function is inner ear is just to convert the physical stimuli, sound waves, into the neural impulse. So this is your inner ear. See, this is your outer ear, yellowish part. The pinkish part is your middle ear, and your bluish part is your inner ear. So here you will find organ of Corti. This is a dark greenish part, and these are nothing but thin hair cells which converts physical stimuli into neural impulse, and from there auditory nerve carry this neural impulse forward to the specific part of your brain. So dear friends, these are the function of each part of your. Is also one of the function of your ear. Your teacher or your parents several times uses your inner to make you understand or to correct you. That is also one of the function of human ear. This must be some funny, and you must be worrying that sometimes that your ear can be used for some other purpose for which it has not been made. So don't worry, dear friends. Now, as a whole, how your ear functions. Now let us discuss. The sound waves are the first component that initiates the your sensory process in your ear. When the sound waves travel through the air and reaches the pinna, what pinna do is it collects the sound waves and direct them towards the auditory canal, and from through the auditory canal these waves travels to your tympanic membrane. There these auditory waves, or that is sound waves, sorry, these sound waves vibrates the eardrum. Okay, that is tympanic membrane, it start vibrating. The eardrum vibrates the hammer, which is just touched to it. When the eardrum vibrates, it transports this movement to the hammer, that is known as malleus. Then hammer vibrates anvil, and anvil vibrates the stirrup. So these three bones, smallest bones, also known as ossicles, are placed in such a fashion. You can see the certain animated videos on internet, and various, they are very available in the various shape and size and colors. So how that your eardrum vibrates hammer, then anvil, and then stirrup. These are three ossicles. The basic function of these three bones, here it is, along with the eardrum, is they intensifies the sound waves 10 times, and finally that vibration which has been intensified reaches the owl window of the cochlea. Okay, then through this cochlea, the vibration of cochlea made to vibrate fluid inside it. There is a fluid which is found in the cochlea. That cochlea contains the fluid and organ of Corti. So that vibration which has been received from the stirrup, that vibration in turn vibrates the fluid, and that what that fluid is do is that fluid moves the thin hair cells, that is basical membrane, which causes the organ of Corti to move up and down and bend its ASL. You can make it point that vibration which you receive from the three ossicles through the cochlea, owl window, that vibration vibrates the fluid, and that fluid vibrates in turn the basilar membrane, and that membrane causes the organ of Corti to move up and down. In that case, bending the thin hair cells. What these are thin hair cell? These are the photoreceptors, that is auditory receptors. Okay, so bending of hair cell converts vibration into neural impulses, and more the bending, louder the sound. When you hear louder sound, you can understand right now that your hair, the thin hair cell which are found in the organ of Corti, are bending more. Now you can understand, and that neural impulse is transported to the brain centers via your auditory nerve. So this is the whole function of ear. In a brief, I let you know the sound waves collected by pinna travels through your auditory canal to your tympanum or eardrum. Eardrum vibrates. That vibration is transferred to the three ossicles, and these three ossicles and eardrum together intensifies the sound waves 10 times. Then this vibration enters to the cochlea through the oval window, and from there that vibration vibrates the fluid which is placed inside the cochlea. That fluid vibrates the basilar membrane, which causes the organ of Corti to move up and down, finally consequently bending the hair cell. And this bending of hair cell is nothing but here that your physical stimuli, that is sound waves, are converted into the neural impulse, and that neural impulse is uh, collected by the auditory nerve and transported to the brain through various channels and to the very specific area where the perception of your sound occurs. So one thing here, more the bending of the hair cell, more the louder the sound you hear. So dear friends, this is your function of move. Something we'll discuss. See, these are the auditory pathways of your brain, which from which your sound travels and reaches to the specific brain centers. Now, some important terms which are related to our ear, related to our listening process, or we sometimes use in our daily communication. So we'll be discussing these important terms. Let us start first with the hertz. Our ears cannot understand or sense or perceive the sound which is beyond 20 hertz, less than 20 hertz or 20,000 hertz. Beyond this frequency we cannot hear any sound. So where use hertz? Hertz means unit, it is a unit of frequency. It's a measurement of frequency, that is in 1 second how much waves of that particular sound has been created, that is hertz. If a sound creating 20 waves in a second, we call it the 20 hertz. We creating 1000 waves in a second, we call it the 1000 hertz. So if sound waves are being created 20 in a second, that we can hear. If it is less than 20, then 19, our ear cannot listen to that because there are sensory limits. Okay, next comes your auditory canal. It's a tube-like structure from start from your pinna to your tympanic membrane up to your eardrum. That starts from pinna and reaches up to the your tympanic membrane, and that what the function of that, carrying the sound waves to the tympanic membrane. Next comes your tympanic membrane or eardrum. What is the function? uh, Eardrum vibration of the, so converting the physical stimuli into the vibration. This is your eardrum. Then next comes your cochlea. Can you tell me what is the function, what is this cochlea? The structure of inner ear that resembles a snail shape. What does it contains? Can you remember? Yes, it contains fluid, basilar membrane, organ of Corti, and thin hair cell. These are all make up together organ of Corti, that is the hearing organ of your ear. So next part is your cochlea is organ of Corti, which is found inside the cochlea. An organ consisting of hearing receptor cells, or we call it the hair cells. So dear friends, these are the some important terms. Or last one is auditory nerve, a bundle of axons of neurons that starts from your organ of Corti and reaches to the brain. Here in this animated picture, see, this is your pinna or outer, up to here it is your outer ear, then this is your middle ear, this is your inner ear, and from this you see the arrow. This arrow is your known as your auditory nerve that receives that neural impulse and transform or transports it to the brain centers where they are organized and interpreted. So dear friends, structure and function of human ear, these are my references. You can always cross check them or for further studying. And can you guess? Yes, your next video will be. Now tell me first, before guessing, tell me who is bigger, this individual, one or two, or here it is one or two. Can anyone guess? Yes, this guessing process contains the clue that what our next video will be. Dear friends, the next video will be our nature of perception. So you must be curious enough to know the answer of who one is bigger, either one or two. Dear friends, no one is bigger. Both are similar in size and shape and color and activities. The only difference is we are perceiving that this individual is number two is bigger than the one due to the relative phenomena. Don't worry, we'll be discussing now the next video. Can you tell me what we can be discussing? Okay, function of each part of your ear. Let us start one by one. First is outer or external ear. Now, the point which I left you, the question which I left you while we were discussing the external ear, what is the role of pinna? Can you tell? Yes, it can. We can use for cosmetic purpose, wearing some external rings or doing something. So, basic purpose of the pinna is it is a type of antenna that